The Holy Spirit waits for this moment in every life. The moment when you stop wrestling in your own wisdom and finally hand the battle over to Him. The Holy Spirit will never force His way into your situation. He waits to be invited. He waits for the heart that turns from its own ways and says, Holy Spirit, take over. In that moment of holy surrender, chains that have held for years can shatter in seconds. Strongholds of fear, addiction, anger, and bitterness begin to crumble. What could not be moved by effort alone is swept away by the breath of heaven. Many people pray but never truly surrender. They ask for God's help while still clinging to their own plans. They invite His presence but never let go of the steering wheel. True surrender is not partial. It is complete. It says, Lord, whether by fire or by storm, by blessing or by breaking, have your way in me. And it is in that place of yieldedness that the Holy Spirit begins to fight battles in realms you cannot see. He speaks into situations you could never access. He confounds enemies you didn't even know were plotting against you. When Israel crossed the Red Sea, it wasn't by the strength of their armies, but by the breath of God parting the waters. When Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, it wasn't by clever escape that he survived, but because the Spirit of God shut the mouths of those beasts. Time and again, heaven moved mightily on behalf of those who surrendered their situation into God's hand. They didn't manipulate outcomes or bargain for results. They trusted completely and watched the Holy Spirit do what no man could. You can fight for years and gain inches, or surrender and let the Holy Spirit give you miles in moments. No enemy, no chain, no curse can stand when the Holy Spirit steps into the battle. The power of the Holy Spirit is not a force to be taken lightly, nor is it something that can be resisted by the forces of darkness. When He moves, creation obeys, demonic powers flee, and every stronghold trembles under the weight of His authority. From the very beginning of time, it was the Spirit of God that hovered over the formless void and brought order to chaos. That same Spirit now moves in the lives of those who call upon Him, confronting the unseen enemies that bind, oppress, and threaten the people of God. In every generation, there have been enemies that rose to intimidate and enslave the people of God. Armies, sicknesses, demonic forces, generational curses, and inner torments. But every time the Holy Spirit stepped into the scene, those enemies could not stand. When the Spirit came upon Samson, the ropes that bound him snapped like burned threads. When the Holy Spirit empowered David, the giant that terrorized a nation fell with a single stone. When the Spirit rested upon Elijah, fire fell from heaven, exposing the powerlessness of false gods and the emptiness of the enemy's threats. The Holy Spirit is not moved by the size of your problem. It makes no difference to Him whether the enemy before you is a sickness the doctors called incurable, a generational curse that plagued your family for centuries, or a fear that has crippled your soul since childhood. No chain forged in the pits of hell can endure when the Holy Spirit releases His fire. Every prison door has a key in the hands of the Spirit. Every dark cloud hovering over your life can be scattered in a moment when he speaks. I have seen men tormented by demons for years, bound by addictions that robbed them of their dignity and future, suddenly set free when the power of the Holy Spirit filled the room. I have seen families restored after generations of brokenness, when the Spirit began to fight battles buried deep in the soul. What no human intervention could accomplish, what no amount of reasoning or counseling could fix, the Spirit of God unraveled with a single move of his hand. The enemies that oppose you do not fear your name, your reputation, or your resources, but they tremble at the presence of the Holy Spirit. Darkness knows his power. Hell remembers the defeats it has suffered every time the Spirit of God intervenes. This is why the enemy works so hard to keep people from understanding and accessing the fullness of the Spirit's power. Because once a believer knows that no chain can remain, no curse can linger, and no enemy can stand in the presence of the Holy Spirit, they begin to live and pray with authority. Heaven moves, the earth responds, and the plans of darkness collapse. What you've heard today is not a distant story or a forgotten truth buried in the ancient pages. It is the living, breathing reality of heaven for you right now. The Holy Spirit is not a relic of church history, not a silent observer sitting high above your struggles. He is here, and he is willing, ready, and mighty to fight for you. The battles you face, whether visible or invisible, are no match for the Spirit of the living God. The chains you've carried for years, the voices that whisper defeat in the night, the fears that have gripped your heart, none of these can withstand the force of heaven's warrior when he moves on your behalf. There is a power available to every believer that turns cowards into champions, victims into victors, and the defeated into deliverers. This is not just for the few. It is not reserved for the famous, the titled, or the privileged. It belongs to the surrendered. It belongs to the desperate. It belongs to the ones who are willing to lift their eyes to heaven and cry out, "Holy Spirit, fight for me." That simple, honest, heartfelt cry breaks the barriers between earth and heaven. It draws the attention of the Almighty. It sends forth the breath of God into the dry bones of your life and causes what was dead to rise again. You were never meant to live a life of constant defeat, bowing before your circumstances or fearing the darkness. You were made to walk in victory, to stand in authority, and to move in the power of the Holy Spirit. The devil knows this, which is why he fights so hard to blind you to the truth. But today, that blindness is breaking. The scales are falling. The lies are being exposed. You are not weak. You are not abandoned. You are not without help. The Spirit of God himself stands beside you, within you, and around you. And when he fights, the enemy has no answer. This is your moment to surrender the battles you've been carrying alone. You've wrestled in your own strength long enough. You've cried yourself to sleep for the last time. The heaviness that's weighed on your shoulders, the shame that's gripped your heart, the anxiety that's stolen your peace. It's time to lay them down at the feet of the one who alone can carry them. Victory begins not with striving, but with surrender. As you open your heart to the Holy Spirit, expect the atmosphere of your life to change. Expect doors that were locked to swing open. Expect burdens to lift and joy to return. Expect battles to turn in your favor, not because of your own strength, but because the one who has never lost a battle is now fighting for you. Lift your eyes. Take courage. The Holy Spirit is here, and your victory is already written in the heavens.